So I think we've all been told at some point or another when you want a little inspiration to read biographies. So I wanted some inspiration, so I started reading a biography of a monk who lived to be 120 years old, and he was monastic for 101 years. And when I first started reading the biography, I can't remember how this came about, but anyway, I guess maybe the person who wrote it was saying he's kind of like the Chinese version of Milarepa or something. I don't know. I don't know much about him. But I did read a couple poems by him, and so I haven't gotten too far in the biography yet, but I was really just so surprised by these poems. Mostly one part. I didn't realize they were two poems, but this is actually two poems. So just a little background. This master, Venerable Suyang, he was born in 1840 and died in 1959. just amazing to think about. So he lived to be 120. And it turns out, at that time period in China, there was a lot of degeneration of the Dharma. Of course, that's a long time period, but one thing he did in his life was he resurrected a number of very famous temples. But even yet, if you know history, the Cultural Revolution was just really taking off around the time he died. And even before that, a lot of things were happening. And so there was a lot of persecution, actually, of him and other monastics. I don't know the history so well. But I know from just reading this biography, the little bit I have, that he got severely beaten to the point of they thought they had left him for dead, bleeding and broken ribs and all kinds of things. And at that point, he was something like 111 years old or something. He was really old. He was well over 100. And one of his main students had been executed. So this gives you some flavor of the times. So that these poems were written near the end of his life when he was much persecuted, is how it says here. So that's just the background. So he says, "An evil wind blows me to Wuchang. My presence here has caused disaster. For 3 months at Sungfat Monastery, this sick and aging body has attracted trouble, shame, and fear for everyone. Once there was a decapitated general calling aloud for his head. 'How many heads have you cut off?' they asked him. At once he was enlightened. 'Today I too lament, defeated, tortured, I recall unnumbered heads. In other lifetimes I cut off. Vast is time, and I am reconciled. No more desire for eminence, simply the wish to find the Buddha along with other people.'" And then a second poem is, "Why should this crazy guy seek to make a name in Buddhism when the whole show's on the wane, indeed at crisis point? I try to climb the highest peak. I plumb the depths to catch the fish. Talk a lot, no one listeners. Find no listeners. Talk a lot, find no listeners. Sorry for myself, I waste my time. Unconcerned by dire predicaments. Concern for others should be my task. Moaning without pause. Whatever for this grumbling. Why not let everything go? Life suffering never ends. Suddenly, remembering emptiness, this mind has cleared. What a laugh it is." So I was just, I don't know, kind of dumbstruck when I first read this. My first thought was like, wow, you've been a monk for 100 years. Aren't we supposed to be happy by then or something? And I just go back to it really made me think again how, like, when I first moved here, I was here for 2 weeks and I was just so joyful. And then after about 2 weeks, all of my preconceptions and expectations about things started to kick in. But I don't realize those till they aren't met. So I'm just like, that's what was like this, 100 years, wouldn't you be happy? You know, I'm here 2 weeks, shouldn't I be happy? And then I'm like, this scenery is so nice here, how could I be unhappy? And then when I read this poem, I'm just like, wow, all the same things that we struggle with, he's able to put so well in this poem. You know, our concern for our reputation, our grumbling mind, our bodies, our, the state of affairs of the world. His were not so great, obviously. I mean, they were quite drastic, actually. But even yet, what made me think about it is how, where he says, unconcerned by dire predicaments. I find that in myself too, like in the sense of how the self-centered thought, it just is kind of appalling sometimes. It really is what makes you want to change. I remember one time, someone in my family, I think it was my mother, was going through something health-wise that was, really not so good. And in that day, I found myself just really upset by some trivial thing that I can't even remember what it was now. So upset, about nothing, about something really petty, right? And then I thought, I can't believe I do this. Here I am, concerned about nothing, and my mother is like suffering. It's the same thing. And so here it is, as someone who's practiced the Dharma, who can watch his mind and express this very eloquently, and then, but, the big difference, like, boom, suddenly, he clears the whole thing out. He sees this is just not the way to be thinking. And then, whatever it is in his practice that gets him to that point, his mind is cleared. What a laugh it is. So he's able to put it in perspective. And so I think for me, what this poem really represents is a level of reality check. Like having a reality check about expectations of our Dharma practice and of ourselves, and to really, beginningless time is a long time. 101 years is like nothing. And so I'm not saying anything about his level of realizations, but I'm just saying that, our need to just keep practicing and not get, not get weighed down or let our minds go south when things don't go as fast as we want. Because, we make our changes, they happen slowly, and we just keep going. And this is what we need to just keep doing all the way to full awakening. So may we continue.